Steve McDonald.
Jeff McDonald, yeah.
When did you know you first wanted to be a musician?
When did I first know I wanted to be a musician? Um, I mean, maybe. I mean, I always loved rock and roll, and when we saw Kiss when I was 8 years old at the Forum in February of 1976, I would say that was very transformative. It was very dazzling. Made me. I was definitely, mesmerized by it. But I think maybe, like becoming a fan of the Runaways, and they were teenagers, and that's when it seemed like it was possible to be a musician.
And that was the Runaways came out like maybe like a year after you first saw Kiss. Then.
It was like the same time actually, because we saw Kiss in February of '76. We learned about Kiss maybe a year earlier, tops.
Yeah, I remember when I came home from school and I went to our friend Annette's house and she had the Runaways album. Must have been 1976. I think she had a doctor's appointment, so her mom let her pick out a record because she got to stay out of school. And she must have bought it just based on the album cover because I'd never even heard of it. And it was like opening it up and it was, oh my God. Yeah, I think, did Kiss make you feel that you could do it yourself or did it seem hard what they were doing?
Yeah, no, they seemed like wizards. They
Yeah,
were. They were like wizards. I mean, if you see that footage of that era of Kiss, it's
yeah.
still very impressive and magical.
Well, one thing I do remember from reading the earliest Kiss interviews, I would have to give, during the height of the Guitar Wizard and like, about arena rock, Kiss would say, we make our songs simple that anyone can play them. And
And
I
that,
always thought that was really refreshing, even though it seemed impossible.
I mean, Paul Stanley kind of downplays their their technical prowess.
Yeah,
Paul Stanley is very invested in saying because his whole thing in his autobiography, I can't remember what it's called. Um, he's very critical of Peter and Ace's ego.
right.
At the time, they thought it, he was what was the word that he used a lot? Paul using the word what do you call that? Like when someone is like gifted, a prodigy, kind of.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he was talking about how Peter and Ace thought they were on the same level of technical skill as like Jimmy Page and whoever else were the Eric Clapton, the
yeah.
heroes
Right.
of that moment, who you know, uh, and in Paul's mind, that was like comparing yourself to Mozart or something, and that.
Right.
But
But it's a
well, let me just say one more thing. Because at the time, in all the rock, and at least in the American rock magazines, Peter and all of Kiss were winning like, fan polls. So they were like on the top of the fan poll charts, and and what Paul's criticism later on was that just because the fans would voted them didn't mean you had to believe it. But those
right.
guys believed their own hype is basically what his criticism was.
Yeah, but you believe your own hype.
But you know what?
So
I
you're.
watch that stuff though. It's like, yeah, well,
I'm
that is a
kidding. I'm
dangerous
kidding.
pitfall. That is really what you know.
You learned that people you kind of learned that early on that like when you receive your first bad review it's when you realize like oh I can't take any of this serious so it's
Yeah.
kind of humbling and it's a good growth moment if you take it.
I mean, it's weird though because I mean now we're on a whole tangent right now, but
Yeah,
I think
okay.
that's fun. Let's be on a tangent. Um, because I think that you know how all of the grunge rock stars, basically the people of our graduating class,
Mm-hmm.
most of those lead singers are dead now.
The
The
most
big ones,
successful
the
ones.
ones that got to that crazy, you know, rarefied air place,
Right.
and And I think it's because they they and it's ironic because the grunge movement was supposed to be about stripping away all of that
Yeah.
pretense
A
of the
return
70s
to
arena rock.
the anti-rock style, the return of the
Right.
anti-rock style.
Except for I think that those guys took a swan dive into their egos and into believing their own hype, maybe even worse than the generation before them.
But it was also, part of the whole image was to be nihilistic. So, you play with that Sylvia Plath, inner Sylvia Plath, you're heading for disaster.
Right, so that's dangerous too, especially when you're being put on a pedestal at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a
I'm saying
dangerous
you're being
combination because it
okay.
means
Well,
it's
on that
fueled with
level.
self-hatred. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to go to the
So
second
the
question.
'90s were a very dangerous time for lead singers. Okay.
Grant, okay, Jeff, what would you have been if you didn't do music?
My turn. No, oh, it's right. It's my turn to answer. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
One more time. Go ahead.
What would you have been, or what would you have done if you didn't play music?
Okay, this is a very, very easy answer.
Yeah, really?
A Mormon missionary.
Morning missionary? What's a morning?
A Mormon missionary.
A Mormon, but our family's not Mormon.
I would have found a way.
You mean you'd want to go on mission? That's what they call it. Like at a certain age, you go.
I would convert to Mormonism, and then I would stay on a lengthy mission and convert the natives.
There's still time to do this, Jeff. If
I don't think they let anyone in, and since we have a decent percentage of Jewish blood, I think that I might be rejected due to anti-Semitism.
So, is that a real thing? We're getting a little controversial here. I don't know.
No, what would I do? You can. What would I do if I didn't? I have no idea to answer that. I mean, that question is just as true as I don't know. Who knows?
Well, that's like
I've been playing music my whole life now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't. I imagine I would find a way to survive. I wouldn't just, give up. But maybe I would, who knows? But that's a very seems like a very simple question. But we can go on for hours on the potential answers to that question because there are none.
Yeah.
For I know nothing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you the next question. That was a good enough answer. Okay. What do you feel is your best song? Now, this is your opinion, not like, what do you feel is your best song?
What's like the best Red Cross song?
Yeah, like the one that you feel.
I mean, I'd have
what's
to
the best, or what do you like? I don't know. No, answer what is the best?
What is.
Not what song do you like the most. What is the best Red Cross song?
Well, I mean, I think that, yeah, I'm going to go like a populist answer. I mean, like our number one most streamed song is our ode to anti-hero, teenage actress Linda Blair. And I think that, I mean, it really does kind of, it's kind of fucked because, we were, 14 and 17 or whatever. And it's hard to get back to that place, I guess. But
actually, every time we play that song, though, it mutates and it sounds different. And I do feel personally, I return to that place.
Well, that's what's great about music. It's like a time machine, right? It's like there's these little time capsules that stay in place and you can visit them. But I mean, maybe that song. And I also think that, Stay Away from Downtown. I think that song is really wonderful because, it's a cautionary tale. And it's a cautionary tale about darkness, yet it has sugary melodies and harmonies, and it's a very joyous, melodic, harmonic experience, yet the lyric has a dark undercurrent, which I think is a nice combination.
Yeah, it's very dark, but the song, I don't know that the song's happy, but it's heavy. And it, when I'm saying you're right, it is. It has the sha la la's in it.
Yeah, it's got sha
Yeah,
la
you
la
can't.
la 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 la. I mean, it's like it's got like Brady Bunch style, sha la la's.
It does seem to be a
Be it
song that a
been
lot of.
more in key than the Brady's, hopefully.
I think a lot of people seem to relate to that song strangely, and I'm not even 100% sure of what it's about. I know that the setting is just kind of in a dark place, but I don't. Yeah.
I feel like
It,
that song is one of the more on the nail things that you do. I think you generally feel more comfortable nowadays in your adult years in a more. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but correct me if I'm wrong. Um, in a more poetic, abstract
of
space.
course. Oh, I always feel that way because if I write too literally, like some people are so great at it, I can do it well, but the songs tend, for me personally, to date themselves. So like, the more abstract song, as long as it's honest, if they have this long shelf life in my being, I can always perform them. So yeah, because that's what I do naturally best.
I mean,
But occasionally,
I love the heavy poeticisms. I mean, that's Dylan, and then Bowie was influenced by Dylan,
yeah,
and
and you're still saying something. It's just like you're basing it on imagery that's coming to your mind, but you're still kind of making a point. But it's not really for you to say entirely what it's about because it means something different to the listener. If it's a good and if it's honest. So, you can't really go in and muddle other people's concepts of what a song is about. Hello?
yeah, I'm still there. I'm still there.
Okay.
Just make sure
Yeah,
we're
so
still
yeah,
recording. I'm sorry. We're still recording.
still recording. But yeah, so that was it. Okay, is it my turn?
Um, yeah, sure. Okay. What musician?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no,
What
it's my turn.
musician would you like to collaborate with?
God. I mean, honestly, I always admire people who do collabs because some people are naturally great at collaborating. Like my wife Charlotte Caffey or your wife Anna Warren are really good at collaborating. I don't know.
I have an
I
idea.
don't. Okay, for me, okay, I'm gonna pass this. You can, if you have an idea, because I honestly, the idea of collaborating with anyone is just it causes anxiety in my brain.
I would like
So
to
go ahead.
collaborate with Yoko Ono.
That could be. You mean like just like recording a jam and letting her go off?
Somehow, yeah. Just I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have to be super interactive, but like
But her
Yoko,
lyrics are great too, though. Yeah, you can go any direction with the. That's a good one. I do it.
that would be meaningful
Yeah.
and impactful, and I feel like we would intuitively know where to go
Right.
with one
Yeah,
another.
that's a good one. I wasn't. Yeah, I was. I'm in a more hip hop state of mind. Maybe
Oh
that's
right,
why.
yeah, because you're thinking of like more like K-pop collabs.
Well, K-pop collab. I would like to produce Girls' Generation, a single for them.
Girls' Generation. Okay.
Yeah. People will know what they're
I
talking
don't know
about.
it, but I believe you. You've
They're my
turned me on to
favorite.
K-pop.
They're one of my favorite of the K-pop girl groups. They're like they're broken up, but they were from the second generation of K-pop, which was the big explosion, and they were the supremes of K-pop. They really were. Their songs were just
to explain that.
well, they were
The Supremes were like
they were very very poised and had these just genius pop songs. I mean, and an incredible look. Like there were other groups that were more edgy. Like when you see a Blackpink now, Blackpink is based off of 21, who were their big sisters, and that was an edgy. That was like the Monkees, Kiss, kind of like outrageous kind of image. But the Girls' Generation they were, and they still are, because they do every few years make a really great single. So they're the supremes of Korean pop. But so I would love to produce them. So that's a collab. Yeah, I just keep thinking in terms of like collaborating.
Well, would you want to write a
like,
song for them?
Yeah, I'd like to write a song and produce it. Or, I don't necessarily have to produce it. Producing.
You could work with one of
me-
their like fancy engineers and like let them kind of.
rather, yeah,
You
write
could be
a
the
song
vibe
and-
guy in the studio.
Yeah, exactly. Co-produce. Yeah, because now, I mean, like a lot of modern records are made with, I mean, who produces them? There's like 20 people. There's, yeah, the vibe guy. Who's that? You
I
know,
think
it's
you
like,
could be the vibe guy. You could be like, like when you feel like the singer is really getting into some kind of zone, encourage it.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, and to, and double down on the beats and when there's a groove happening. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I will. I'm putting it out there. I am available to be the vibe guy portion of anyone's production team. Because I don't
Anyone?
really.
You
I'm
mean
not
anyone
interested
in
in
the
producing.
K-pop?
Not just K-pop. I think it would be great. Hip hop would be really fun.
So you want to
Being the
work with hip
vibe
hop?
guy. Yeah. I like. I'm not like a giant expert on hip hop, but I like the idea. It's collage pop. You know, it's not really about playing an instrument. It's more like it's like collage music. It is more of a studio production thing,
Yeah.
and that is fun because you can just find weirdo, trippy, weird pieces to throw in behind a really cool beat, take things out of context. I mean, it's like I could probably make really good hip hop records, but I'm too lazy.
Well, yeah, because you're a really good curator.
Yeah.
I think
I
that
don't
your
know. I couldn't
video,
write rap. What?
I think that your Instagram account, your reels show that you're really good at. That's collaging as well. I feel like that's
It's a visual version of like producing those type of
but
records.
it's like crafting, like arts
Yeah,
and crafts. It's like
yeah, yeah.
it's like video. It's pop culture curating slash collaging. Like what do they call that? Pick a
Montage.
what's that?
Montage. They're like
Yeah,
mini
but what was that?
montages.
Summer Caprice. What was the name of her show?
Oh, decoupage.
It's like video decoupage.
Well, a lot of hip hop is audio decoupage.
Yes, I'm saying
If
like
you guys
yes, I meant
coined the
yeah.
term.
So like it's kind of audio decoupage,
Right,
and
right.
to decoupage. Well, it's all about it's about displaying your taste.
Right.
Okay.
Well, okay. So, okay, wait. Okay, so was that mine? So I get to ask you the next question. You're getting these kind of thematic questions. So, what do you think?
Okay, okay. I want this one for you. What's that? What?
No, but I'm gonna. I'm asking you the next question.
Okay. Wait,
you want me to?
Yeah. I'll take it.
Okay, what do you think the greatest song ever? What do you think is the greatest song ever?
Oh, I really want to like. What is the greatest song ever? I mean, it's a ludicrous question, right? But
it is. It's a fun, ludicrous question. You be bold and just make. And you don't even have to describe why. Just in your head.
I mean, I think that's
right
half the fun, though, isn't it?
But right in your head, if I say, "What's the greatest song ever?" What's the first song that comes to your mind now?
I guess I want to please you, though. At the same time.
No, forget me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to ask you the question, and then the first song that pops in your mind, just say it.
Also, I'm road weary.
What is the greatest song ever? What is the greatest song ever now?
I don't know. Like I'm 18.
Is that the first thing that popped to your brain?
Yeah, I mean if we're going to talk about rock and roll, I mean it really kind of is a perfect piece.
The question isn't rock and roll, but
well,
so that's
song.
what came to your mind
We're talking
first,
about popular music. I suppose you could talk about like a standard or something. Like Wonderful World or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but that didn't pop in your head.
I think of rock and roll. I think
there is no real greatest song ever. But it's like what's in your brain. What's the first thing when you ask that question comes to mind?
I mean, maybe like some people would say the Star Spangled Banner. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? But song is very broad.
Star Spangled Banner. I really am not into that song.
I like that song. You don't like that song?
I hate the lyrics.
Too major.
The lyrics are very warmongering, and there's a lot of.
Oh, say, can you see?
The tune being starting down here and then going way up there. I understand it's kind of a show. It's a show tune, and the way it's put together. But
it's designed. It's definitely designed to rally. These songs are designed to rally. That's for sure.
Well, I'm peacenik, so I think it's a warmongering. number, and I personally can't get behind it. You know what I think?
Well, hang on.
Like,
Was it written? I don't know,
like
but it was
America
probably
the
written around the
Beautiful
time of the Revolution.
The Beautiful is a really great bluesy jazz pop standard.
What
That
song?
should be the national anthem, America the Beautiful,
Oh.
which was the alternative national
America.
anthem, but it's kind of not sung anymore. But it, it's like beautiful, like
Oh
you know,
yeah.
like I like, Ray Charles has done incredible versions of it, and that's like a bluesy standard. That's like a Gershwin. It's Stephen Foster, but it has that kind of American songbook type song. It is an American songbook type song. Star Spangled Banner is just like, it's a cheap show tune. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. And we don't have to go any further.
Well, A Wonderful World would be in that.
That's beautiful. And that song is very much in the same vein.
Well, as
very
America
similar.
the Beautiful. It's
It's a very American songbook kind of blues.
And then
blues,
it's
brooded folk.
And who sings the classic version?
The definitive America the Beautiful.
No, the What a Wonderful World.
That's Louis Armstrong.
The Louis Armstrong version.
Remember, Joey Ramone did a really great version of it on his solo album.
Joey. Yeah, well, that's
that was like his.
I mean, that actually is stirring too. There was a Ramones documentary. I remember it was a Joey documentary, and the song was at the end. It's very moving. And the fact that there's a Joey Ramone, and I'm very road tired, so I could cry easily. But the fact that there's a Joey Ramone street in New York City.
Yeah.
Cry.
So great. Considering that we were like, get threatened to be beaten up for being Ramones fans, like when they came out.
Yeah, so that's one for us too. It's a win for us as well.
It's total victory. Okay, so
So the next question, I'm going to ask you the next question then, because you threw that one at me. Okay. Who are your musical influences? My musical influences are anyone that has ever moved me on a musical level. It all worms its way into what I create. So everything. I'll break it down to like Beatles and Rolling Stones. That's the Mirepoix, or what do you call it, the basic foundation of my. I don't know the expression, Mirepoix. What's that?
I think it's like it's the basis for a lot of cooking. It's peppers, onion, the aromatics that uses a base for. So yeah, I'm gonna say Beatles and Stones just to kind of break it down, but everything.
But I thought you're a Dylan fanatic.
I love Bob Dylan, and I love Girls' Generation.
But I mean,
I love
Dylan?
the Shags, and I love Dusty Springfield, and I love.
At some point, when you say like the Beatles don't develop to where they developed without Dylan.
Well, no, we can say that. We can say that about anyone, though. You could say that absolutely about anyone. Rock and roll is folk music. It's all about taking what existed before and then elaborating on it and taking it to the next level. The only thing with rock and roll, as post-official folk, now you can get in trouble for plagiarism. Any musician knows within rock and roll, there's just a few little combinations of chords and melodies. So it's how you mix it up that keeps it original. So, but I consider rock and roll as folk music. It's an American art form.
Do you think that George Harrison should have lost that case?
No, George Harrison. Okay, like the people like
he lost that case. I think that's outrageous.
The Robin Thicke thing when he got he lost the case for that. What was that blurred lines? That was so bullshit. It was like because he mentioned Marvin Gaye and he used a Caribbean beat and it had typical
they use a very specific beat. No, there's a song. The song, it's a song from like '75 that is similar, but it's a jam.
No way a plagiarism. Yeah. It's just like they just won the case. It's like when Jimmy Page had to go and defend "Stairway to Heaven" because what was that group that said he's
not free? No,
not free.
Spirit.
Spirit said he stole like their song "Taurus" or whatever.
Well, they had opened for them.
And Jimmy Page, he's a musician, so he's able to say, "This is the descending blah blah blah." It's used in a lot of songs. It's the same as Chim Chimney by Mary Poppins. It's blah blah blah, blah, and they shut him down. But like, think about like, what's his face? John Fogerty got sued for stealing his own song.
Yeah.
You know, like, and he's for stealing Green River, which was a straight blues jam. So like, it's up to judges who are stupid.
It's
but
random.
But folk music was always meant to be like, you take it, it's yours when you add to it. You know, a lot of times old folk songs would have, 20 verses because it's just a game of telephone.
Yeah, it was about your interpretation, your arrangement.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, so America, rock and roll is an American art form, but then, we threw the ball to England, and then England took it and they did their voodoo on it, and then threw it back to the Americans. And then, and then like groups like Kiss and all those people, they were only listening to English groups from the 70s from England.
Yeah.
So, it's a big mess, but, so yeah, I have no influence.
You've ended with you have no influences.
No.
Okay.
As an American, it's just bred into me. I don't have to even think about it.
Okay, I'm not going to challenge you on it.
Okay. Well, Beatles and Stones.
Yeah.
If they need a short.
I just went to the Cavern Club. It's a recreation. It's on the street. It sends the chills to walk down there. It's amazing.
Even though it's not in the exact same spot.
But it's the same tract of cellars, and they've.
Right.
It's on the same.
It looks
street.
exactly the same.
It looks exactly the same. It's like it's the same tract of cellars.
But they did a really good job.
Right. They did a good.
Oh yeah, I get it. So were they all connected at one point?
They have to be. All those cellars were underneath all those buildings on that street. You know.
That's amazing. Yeah. I would love to go. Did you get to do any more Liverpool stuff?
No, we have to go back and do it.
Yeah, because I want to go to Menlove Avenue.
We'll have to put we have to put Liverpool on the itinerary. That's what I know.
Right. Yeah. I want to do this whole cheesy Beatles thing.
It was great.
I want to go to. You didn't get to go to the Casbah Coffee House.
We did not do that, but we did. But we were lucky to do what we did.
It has been entombed and stayed exactly the same. And, the Beatles decorated it and painted it.
Oh, you know what I didn't tell you? You know what I did? I went to the Indra Cafe.
Right, I saw that in Hamburg.
That's the first place. In
that was
August
like
of 1960. Theater. And there was
wow.
Because Melvins were playing a really nice hall next door that shared the same parking lot. This European style, so it was like a gated, like it wasn't for the public. So I was able to walk in their back door. They were having a punk rock festival. It was sort of like an epitaph level punk rock thing, and it was
at the Indra.
At the Indra, and
wow,
and because at first, because there was a plaque out front of the Indra, and I was reading it was sort of in German. And then there was this punker dude. He's kind of oi, oi, oi out front. I think he was the promoter for the punk festival.
Wow.
And I was just kind of being extroverted. I was like, so is that the same stage that the Beatles played on? Is it in there? 'Cause I was basically hoping he'd invite me in to see it.
Yeah.
And he didn't want anything to do with my hippie bullshit. And he was he wouldn't speak English. He was he's speaking German. And all I could understand was he threw in Scheiße. He's like,
Beatles are shit.
Scheiße. And I'm like, okay, I got that. I'll see you later.
Wow.
But then later on, I snuck in through the back door.
Right.
And I went in and I took some pictures inside the Indra.
Was it an old shabby stage?
It was probably a new stage, but the reality was the room is just a rectangle. So there's.
I thought it was it used to be a porno theater. I thought or maybe they stayed in a porno theater. They stayed in a broom closet behind a screen.
Yeah, right. But that's possible in a bunch of those places because we were staying. We played right in the heart of the Reaper Bomb of that.
Yeah, the Reaper Bomb.
It's like Beatles Platz or whatever. I forget what it's called. It's so cool. It's just this one little, brick lane that has, all the different, burlesque kind of places.
Right.
Because there's also the Kaiser Keller,
Yeah.
where they played, and that's still a venue, and there was like wrestling going on that day.
Right. Right. Wow.
So cool.
Okay, we should do these questions because whoever has to transcribe this is going to hate us.
Okay.
Is it still recording?
Yes, I hope so.
Are any of your family members musicians?
Yeah, our uncle Shane is quite a talented guitar player, and he has a son Jamie who is a very talented singer. Jamie's
Writer, yeah.
young; he's in his early mid-20s. And then our aunt Colleen, did she play a little guitar? Maybe she was a big music
she played
fan.
guitar. Yeah.
And then
Well, and often our immediate families are like our wives are musicians.
yeah, we're both married to composer, singer, writers.
Charlotte Caffey and Anna Warrenker, Astrid McDonald, my daughter, she's a musician. And we have tons of like people in our kind of extended family.
But it's more like, the environment in which we grew up, our parents are not musicians.
Yeah, we didn't have any professional musicians, and there was only our youngest aunts and uncles who played guitar.
Yeah,
that was it.
They had like
that was where
Or Shane had a Gibson
electric guitar. Yeah, we were the first to kind of experiment with electric guitars at their house.
Where did you grow up? I don't think we have to answer that. Where was your first show? Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, well, this was something I
really
quickly blotted out.
Really quickly, we grew up together in Hawthorne, California, the same town as the Beach Boys. Okay, but 20 years later. Okay, so now our first show.
I guess I'd forgotten our first show actually was at a biker party across the street from our house. There was these strange bikers that lived across the street, and they were having a get together, and I asked them if we can play. You know, we're in a band, can we play? And they said, okay, and we just kind of set up and played, and I had completely erased it from my brain until our original drummer, John Stilo, reminded me. Then I remembered we did that.
I always remember that moment. That was our warm-up gig. Because for our first show, because those were the people because I was violated by seeing this image of their pit bull eating a kitten.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible, and I don't remember their names. I don't think we ever had any interaction with them. But our first shows were in front of people who didn't like us, which was really good for us.
Yeah, well,
our second next show was in front of like our peers in Hawthorne, and punk rock was not happening.
It was not on the menu.
No, it wasn't on the menu. So we got booed. So which you know I think was good for us because anytime we'd ever faced a harsh, hostile audience later, and we were always able to deal with them. Yeah. It was never like we've dealt with some things that would have devastated weaker people.
That's true. And and that show, it wasn't just for fun, so our very first show was at an 8th grade graduation party in Hawthorne, California, where we grew up, and we got our friends to also play a very newly minted Black Flag, and this is this is June 1979, that is, and so that's our first show, and it was in Lisa Stengel's living room in Holly Glen, the Holly Glen area of Hawthorne, California.
You know what's really weird about that gig, besides just the actual gig? I think people will learn more about it in future books and films. But one thing I remembered, after we were done, we were just hanging out in Lisa Stengel's living room, and like the TV was on the news. Some woman had fallen out of fallen out of the Colossus roller coaster named Colossus at Magic Mountain. And that was the same roller coaster that Kiss performs in front of, and Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. But I remember hearing that and like, it always stuck with me. It's like, oh, a woman flew out of that ride.
You had just experienced your first live performance, and you're probably tingling from it. It was we had there was a lot of friction between the audience and the band. And then you learned
the same day a woman, the only person to ever die on the Colossus roller coaster, was pitched from her seat. And that's where Kiss, anyone who's seen Kiss Meets the Man in the Park, we've all seen them doing their concert in front of the big wooden roller coaster. That's the Colossus.
Okay, here we
so
are.
Maybe it was the curve. So wait a minute. So Kiss Meets the Man in the Park is before our first gig. So it was the Kiss curse that caused that to happen. Kiss cursed the roller coaster after the movie was such a
it could have something to do with park maintenance, but let's.
I'm sure there's a Wikipedia, page on it. Okay. Tell us, what was your favorite show and why? I don't know if it was the show you've seen or performed.
Favorite show and why? Tell us about your favorite show and why.
I guess it might be one that you've performed.
One that I performed?
Yeah.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be a member of Red Cross. It could be as a member of the Courtney Love Band. It could be any.
No, this is a Red Cross interview. It should be a Red Cross show, but I don't know. I mean, I want you to answer that question, actually.
This is a problem because I have this thing, and I think it's about being a natural performer and actually being very fearless on stage. I think when shows are really great, I don't remember them at all. I only remember shows where I was having problem connecting with the audience, or I was having technical issues, or shows that weren't really good and I was out of my head. I remember those shows. The good ones, I don't remember them. Because and it's also, we have so many good shows. I think what I can say, this is a very good thing about both of us. We put 176% into all of our shows. And we always prepare. So the majority of our shows, the vast majority of our shows are really good.
Yeah.
So I think but a special show, maybe it's more like maybe the first time we had a deli tray at one of our headlining shows. The Roxy of the whiskey, because that was the sign of actually making it, when you were actually headlining a gig and the venue actually provided you with food and a rider. And I think the first place that ever happened for us was at the Roxy, or the whiskey of the Roxy.
I dig.
Because I remember we had other friends that were already at that level and they had food backstage. And I always remember being impressed. And I think the first time we ever headlined the Roxy, that was like the first place we had food and a rider.
Of course,
so that was when I first time I ever felt like a professional musician.
Okay, that's cool. But I like what you were saying about how you don't remember the good shows, because I do think there's something about. Yeah, because the goal is to transcend the mechanics, whatever, the torture of the human experience, and
being in your head. It's like everyone says, be in the now, be present. It's next to impossible to be fully present in your normal everyday life. That's like guru type Swami stuff. But on stage, when everything is going right and you're prepared, you are present. It's like one time when you're completely present. You're not thinking about, stuff that's after the show or you shouldn't be. I mean, that other stuff does creep in, but for the most part, for me, it's like it's easiest time for me to be present is like in a good show, because
it's a form of communication that is about connection. It's about connecting with others, and it's about connecting with yourself. I mean, it might seem a bit pretentious right now,
right? But
I think that when everything conspires and aligns and works together, it is really it is sort of like almost like a fantasy dream that you forget. Yeah.
So next time I perform, I'll make a point to be mindful to remember all the moments.
I like the idea I like the idea of like. I mean, I hate that we're warned. I hate that we only can remember the struggle. That's a drag, but
that's just because you're pulled out of that your presence. Your moment. So that stuff imprints. But yeah, being present is looking back. It's really hard to remember the details. That's what I mean. It's like you can remember, oh, that show was good and I had a good feeling about it, but remembering details is really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I like
But
the kind of nights when like everything is clicking and you do something different. And,
yeah.
And it happened, and everybody is like, just on that same page. And it's all about trying to get, for me at least, it's so much about trying. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's just trying to connect, right? It's about
well, that's the whole point. That you're the focal point or one of the focal points, and they're all facing towards you. So if you're failing at connecting,
but
with
also
them,
I'm trying to connect with I'm trying to connect with the other people on stage as well.
Right.
And that we all conspire together to transcend human suffering. I know that sounds like really over the top, but I mean, it kind of is that's kind of what's going on at the very core of all of it. Yeah,
right.
Another bringing joy is a lighter way of saying it.
Well, yeah, but it's true. That's like everyone has their, some people are really good at volunteering at the local food bank. Some people do their job by entertaining people and bringing them to a level where, there's just so many ways you can
conspire to transcend human suffering.
Yeah, you're just sharing an experience. God, sharing a mutual experience, and that's what it is. It's cheesy. It sounds very the actor's studio, but it's the truth. I'm gonna ask you that.
I don't like crazy road stories. I don't like that.
You're on the road. We did well. Okay, yeah. I guess one would be you were yelled at. You were told in German that the Beatles were shit in front of a Beatle landmark.
Yeah, Germany. Good enough.
You already got that story.
Well, also here's a fun story. When I was about 15, we used to play. This is a random story that I thought about recently. We used to play a place called Helen's Place on Melrose Avenue, East Melrose and Normandy. It later became the Anti-Club, but it was owned by a nice lady named Helen, who was probably younger than I am now. But she was the actress/musician's mother. E.G. Daily, which I kind of learned later. I only knew that because she always had an 8x10 of E.G. Daily on the wall. But
E.G. Daily from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah, but this is before Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But I was too young to be in Helen's Place because it was a 21 club, and she, or if she had younger people who couldn't drink, she wanted you to buy food. And she used to chase me around trying to you need to buy something. You need this. And she wanted me to order a corn dog.
Well, but also about Helen. Helen was like the kind of the yard teacher at school that would, that bench you if you did any kick the ball after the bell rang. But she was
a total authority figure, but at the same time she was a softie. I knew that she liked me.
Because I was always in arguments with her, but using like my teen charm to get her from kicking us out. I said, you have to be quiet. You have to play quiet. And so I had a really loud amplifier. And so I would turn it down to 2 at like sound check, and she would be like, that's too loud. That's too loud. And I would turn it down and whatever. And I remember playing these like 10-band bills, like, before we really had much of an audience, just had like a very core group of. I remember playing there one time and turning my amp up during our set, and then all of a sudden my amp goes off and she's standing there behind my amplifier holding the plug. It's like, man. So yeah, that was like school.
She was
Place.
Great.
I drive by the original building. It's also known as the Anti-Club. Now, I think Anti-Club, it was actually the center for like original LA death rock. A lot of death rock people formed there, and I think that it was. I think not U2, but like.
Yeah, you think U2 might have played the Anti-Club? I think that was their first place they played. I think U2 played the Anti-Club in like 1982.
Wow. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny dive bar in East Hollywood.
Yeah, on
That's what it was, right?
Melrose at Normandy.
In a very weird transitional period of the LA scene.
Yeah.
Post-punk, post-hardcore, pre-death rock junkie.
So that's my crazy road story. Even that's not a road.
Yeah.
It's not a road story. It's just.
But that could happen anywhere. That could happen on the road.
Okay, what's the story behind your band name?
The story behind our band name is that I'm sorry who asked this question, but to any band, this is always the question that annoys most bands. How did you get your name? And it's no one wants to answer.
Oh, it's like, what does your name mean?
Yeah, well, usually nobody remembers making up the name. I mean, it's like,
well, it's usually,
the story behind our band name is, there's a little story. We were called Red Cross, REDCROSS, and of course, thank God we had to change it, because if we didn't change our name now in the internet era, a search for us would be a nightmare. It would be a complete and total nightmare.
That's true.
So you know, Stephen, who I'm speaking to now, has always kind of resented me for wanting 2 D's instead of 1 D, because most people misspell it Red, REDKROSS, but the real spelling is REDDKROSS. But I always liked Red because I just like Red Fox. Oh shit, my phone is dying.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
Okay. Do you have to save it if I disconnect?
Yeah, I'll be fine.
You'll be able to save it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first concert, mine was the Beatles when I was 2, and then my first concert by myself was Elton John, 1974, and yours was?
Kiss in 76.
Kiss. The Alive tour. Okay. Who would you have loved to see play in their prime, alive or dead? I saw this question. I already know the answer for me. It's very simple. I would have liked to see Elvis Presley, the Louisiana Hayride, 1954, when he was just a 3-piece.
Cool. Very cool.
That would have been, because I think, people don't think in terms of going back that far, but yeah, those shows, yes, that would have been the best.
Cool.
Okay, Steve,
I'd like to have seen Little Richard as prime.
Yeah, Little Richard, his first single came out a year later. Amazing. So when people say Elvis ripped off Little Richard, it's like, no, Elvis was a year before Little Richard. Okay, and I love Little Richard, but I would have been happy to see Little Richard in 1969 Rock and Roll Revival in London, 1970, or the live Toronto.
Yeah.
Little Richard was like insanely great live in the late 60s and 70s, where he was off his rocker. It was after his religious retirement, but it was, anyone go to YouTube and look up Little Richard live Toronto, Live Peace Toronto, or the Great Rock and Roll Revival. It'll blow your mind. Okay, wait a minute. I think we already talked about how the band got started. And we started it together.
Finally, what is next for the band? We're currently...
You answer that question, because you are in time. Stephen currently is the busiest member, so he has the calendar book. So what's next for the band?
Well, you and Jeff and I, the two of us we spent the earlier part of the year, we spent this winter writing songs together, and we have a nice little stash of songs that I really love. And
yeah, like more songs than most... I mean, they won't all make on the record, but we've never had like 18 songs.
Yeah,
for
and then I think
record.
So. I'm going to be home in mid-July, and hopefully I'd like you and I to get back together and just start playing those songs.
And there's a few
let's
that
play
need
them
to be
acoustically and
yeah.
work them up and have fun with them. And then in November,
and I will be doing more pre-production together before we work with the other guys.
Yeah, and then in November,
Dale and
the idea is to
Jason.
go in the studio in November and bang out a record in a couple of months, and then in 2024 we'll release the album and tour it, and we've got we have a documentary that's coming out in 2024.
And a book. Stephen and I are co-writing a book with another writer, Dan Epstein, which is so far should be very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of stuff happening.
Yeah, but I think 2024 should be a good year for Red Cross.
Right on.